Hello, my name is Isaac and I've been training calisthenics the past 7.5 years. I've been coaching for about 2.5 years and I've helped hundreds of people achieve their calisthenics goals. What I want you to get out of this video is that no matter what skill level you're at, I can help you through the systems that I built, through the experience that I've had myself, through my analytical abilities, the way that I can communicate really foreign concepts to a really new audience. And I just want to show you what being a coach is like, how helping people can really develop your understanding of whatever you're trying to learn, and that every single person is different. So you can't use one single method like a step-by-step tutorial to cater to the people that you're trying to look after. And honestly, the people that want to learn the most amount from you will require a different teaching and learning approach than the next person. So what I have here on my screen are my clients: Gary, Luke, Darren, Keith, Joe. Usually when I do these check-ins, I do them one by one because I want to offer a really personalized experience. But I aim to provide as much value as I can to the people watching this video. And so we're going to put this in the group context, but I'm going to talk to Gary, Luke, Darren, Keith, Joe as if it was one-on-one. So if you want to follow along and you want to see like my teaching method, then think about it in that frame. But straight off the bat, I just make sure I watch everyone's videos. That's pretty obvious. They send it to me on WhatsApp. So you can see over here, like Luke, Gary, Darren, they have all their things and I've watched them all. Then I put all the exercises under the name just as kind of like cues to make sure I'm not missing out on everything. I have a pretty good memory. That's something that not many people have. So your notes might look a little bit more detailed, but just by looking at your videos, I can instantly put picture to video and identify what tutorial I have to pull up from my YouTube channel to share to you guys. So this is my coaching channel account, and it has all these exercises that I have, and I know exactly what exercises are available, and I know which exercises need to be given to the people I'm trying to help. So without further ado, let's just go on to Gary. And yeah, Gary, he is 75. That has never stopped him from trying really hard, and I'm honestly really impressed with the work that he's been able to do despite his age, because it truly isn't a barrier. When I went to Perth in Australia, I saw a 75-year-old dude do a full front lever, and that was extremely cool. And Gary, he's halfway there. And with my help, he's going to be able to get there much faster and with less injuries. It's also going to be much more enjoyable because he knows exactly what the next step is going to be. So, Gary, hey again. You've got a few notes over here and I'll take that into account. But I've already looked at your clips and I've spotted out a few things. Besides your sissy squats over here, we're going to actually go into the meat of the content, and that is your wall handstand footwork. So this is something that you have been dabbling with for a while, and you've been focusing on your alignment, which is great. And I can see that in this video because last week when we were going through the form, I really wanted you to have your arms closer together, which is good. I want you to have scapular elevation, which means you're pushing up like this. So then your shoulders are next to your ears. And as you can see over here, check. And then we can see that your glutes are squeezed. The reason why I know your glutes are squeezed is because they're coming off the wall, and also it makes your line really straight, because if your glutes aren't squeezed, then your lower back will crease and then your pelvis will touch the door. Like even when you're sitting down right now, right? Try to squeeze your glutes. If you squeeze your glutes, boom, your pelvis goes forward and you're locked in. I can also see that your thighs are engaged and your toes are pointed. This means that there's no energy leaks, because you don't want to think about the handstand in terms of your scapulars, your core, and then your glutes and then your feet, because in its true essence, the handstand works on every single part. It's a full body exercise, and we call it the kinetic chain. If there's any part of the chain that breaks, then it causes energy leaks, and that's when things go out of alignment. And if you try to do a freestanding handstand and you try to kick up, everything crumbles and nothing seems to click because the base foundation and your understanding of the movement is flawed. So that's why we need to have really good alignment when it comes to handstand work. But that's not to say that Gary doesn't do freestanding handstands. He absolutely does. But whenever we're focusing on a skill, we always try to break it up. So if we're doing the wall work, we're focusing on the alignment. And when we're doing the freestanding kick-ups, we're just worrying about the technique for that and just trying to overcome fear. So this is great improvement from last week, Gary. Another thing that you've kind of zoomed in on is your feet. And this is when we're still struggling. So your clips last week show that you're kind of like a bit wibbly wobbly when it came to your feet. But that's all right, because I told you that we need to fix the alignment and consolidate that into muscle memory before we start moving the feet. So now that you've consolidated that, and I'm actually going to give you the green flag or the go signal to do footwork. This is what your footwork wants to be like. We'll start with the easy footwork, and that is simply just going up against the wall. Make sure you have good alignment, and one foot comes out, and boom. That's it. You just have one foot out, and then the second part of the easy footwork is just to alternate, and just do that for reps. So you either have one foot out, and then you put it back, and another foot out, or you just alternate like that. And just for reference, the harder footwork variation is when you just slow it down. So when you go out, boom, and then you just go slowly into here, or you can cross slowly back and forth from the wall. Another thing on the agenda is the step down. So as we go forward in Gary's clips, we can see that he's doing this portion of the movement, and this is a big improvement. There's nothing much for me to say about this, but previously Gary wasn't able to actually stretch his lats fully, and you're going to see in his next clips that some remnant of his past experience with pull-ups is still going to linger, and that comes with the weighted pull-ups, and that comes with the jumping muscle-ups. But this is why you need to break things up step by step, because a step down, boom, like actually stepping down and creating that stretch reflex for your scapulars is the most important thing. You have to do it. And you can even tell, like, as he steps down, boom, he has like a little bit of that explosive spring. And that's not even from moving your arms. That whip when he comes back and that extra speed that he picks up is what you want to use for a muscle up. Next thing is the box pull. Most people don't actually know about the box pull, but I believe that it's one of the most important exercises for the muscle up, and I'll show you why. Like if we go into his program and we just have like on the warm up the box pull, it's pretty much just incorporating knee drive before your muscle up. So we go over here, we're going to go boom. Now we've done the step down, then we're going to pull back, and then you repeat that for reps. So it looks like this: step, pull back, and then step, pull back. Now you're training it for reps. But with Gary, when he steps down and then he pulls back, he can't get enough height because his scapulars are not as strong as they can be for muscle ups. And so he's working on scap pull ups as well. But for this week and for these specific clips, box pull is kind of like the thing. But he mentioned in the comments that he can't do it without bending his arms, because if you don't bend your arms, it's really hard for you to get height if you don't have that scapular mobility. But that's all right, because there's a difference between poor activations and bad form. And what I'm trying to say is that if you know that something is bad, but your goal is to do it right, then it's completely fine to deteriorate your form and like bend your arms, because if you bend your arms, you're not going to injure yourself. You're not just going to cause yourself pain, but you're just going to not do the exercise as efficiently. But you're still working towards the good form, and so that is completely good. But if you don't have that knowledge in mind that you're doing the right activations, or the form sacrifice that you do is not actually going to be congruent with your end goal, then that's when you're going to suffer some setbacks in efficiency. Okay, going down the list, let's actually move on to the jumping muscle up. With the jumping muscle up, it's going to be more about getting his chest over. Let's have a look. What is this one? Okay, this is legs. I typically don't review legs too much just because there's not many technical aspects of it. Right. So jumping up. Let's go, Gary. Nice. This, I believe, is just a lack of false grip, and also the bar, and then also a little bit of fear. So I've told this to Gary before. If you just lurch over the bar and try to get your chest over it, you will be able to do it. From my perspective, it doesn't look too hard, but you can see that his wrists are not false gripped, and so they're actually pushing him back physically from being able to go over. And so then to supplement that, I've actually got Gary to do tiger bend dips. So the reason why you do tiger bend dips is because it teaches that transition. So you go down, and then it teaches you to lurch over and then dip up. So that's one thing that we're working on. Pike push-up, we're going to move on to this. Now, I'm not really impressed with the pike push-ups here today, Gary, if I'm going to be honest. It's because we seem to have gone a little bit backwards. Ideally, we'd want to do this, but I can see the idea, you know? Like, I mean, this doesn't really do much, but I can tell that you're just trying to see how well you can do the pike push-up with straight legs. But, like, this is going to be much more, like, bang for your buck, you know? Lots of people, they try to experiment and try different angles. I've personally found this exercise, this movement over here, to be the worst in terms of specificity for pike push-ups. And I'm not just saying this from like an opinion standpoint. I'm just seeing it based off like evidence from multiple different clients I've worked with. If you just focus on this and you sacrifice your hamstring flexibility and just focus on the tension with your shoulders and your serratus and just your center of gravity, you're going to have a much higher output as opposed to reducing that leverage. The reason why is because this is basically a bent arm handstand. It's the most specific case of the pike push-up you can use towards a bent arm handstand. So if we go over here, this is pretty much what it should look like. Boom. You don't need hamstring flexibility for a handstand push-up. And you don't even need hamstring flexibility for a bent arm press to handstand. So when people, they try to sacrifice, when they try to sacrifice leverage and form for hamstring flexibility, it doesn't make sense, you know? Like if you can do it, because then it like creates a really good standard and it looks more appealing and more aesthetic. But in its essence, a press is basically rotating on your center of gravity, using your serratus to stay high, and then using your shoulders to create force. So another thing about like bent arm press to handstand tech is if you were to press up, you don't press with your shoulders all the way down here. You press from over here, right? And this height that you get, like this angle, is actually from your serratus anterior. So you trying to press like this. Serratus is like that. And then once you get to that position and you pivot and you get your hips to go up, that's when you can use your raw force to then, push into a handstand, push up and hold the handstand. And these were his other clips. Yeah. Also, the hands are a little bit diamond. They need to splay out more, because think about your handstand, Gary. If you want to balance it in the future, even when you do your pike push-ups, it can't be like this. It has to be spread out wide. That way you can catch the most amount of surface area. Moving on, we'll go to dynamic planche leans. I really like your planche lean. It was probably the most impressive thing that I've seen from these clips. If you can find it. Okay. Yeah, the planche leans are looking really clean. Boom. Like when we first started, your form was not good, and that's because your back was lurched. It was kind of like, it was like this, and then you weren't retracted, and so then the planche lean kind of had like kind of that shape. But you can do it now, and that's not because of strength. It's just because of pure theory of the planche and understanding of the different mechanics. And we combined scapular plank with movement, we combined dolphin press, and then we did lots of theory work with trying to press through the floor, trying to activate the serratus, trying to dive in with the chin. And like at 75 years old, doing a planche lean like this is really, really good. So now we're going to take it to the next level. And I put in your program, dynamic planche leans over here. So it looks like that. You can do it with the bars, or you can do it with your feet, with your hands on the floor, but we're basically emulating that movement, and we're just pressing. Like in some of my tutorials, I say that the only thing stopping you from being able, from like literally floating into like this position that you see on the screen right now, is because your hips are down. But now you're letting that press just take you, and you're just overcoming gravity and allowing it to happen. But then you fix yourself, and then you go for it again, and you do this for reps. Okay, so that's a tutorial within the app. Another thing I want to go back into is front lever entry. Now, when you're doing the bands, Gary, it's really important that you make sure that you do it right, because swinging is just not good enough when it comes to front lever. And I'm saying this because I've been a victim of it myself. I'll use bands, but as soon as I enter, I'll start swinging. I have to correct myself, and it's just the absolute worst. You're not going to be making any progress towards anything in front lever if your entry isn't even good. And that really stems from starting in a really high position, because if you're like this, right, it's literally like a swing. As soon as you get your feet off, what's going to happen? Boom. You're going to swing, and you take 3 seconds to fix yourself. Whereas if you go onto this tutorial over here and you wrap your feet around the band, and then you just extend, boom, you got it. Like, you're going to make sure that your back is down, but then your arms also extend at the same time so that you can catch your balance. Okay. Let's go into pull-up technique. One thing that I've seen with your pull-ups is that the technique is just wrong. So we're not going all the way down, and the elbow drive is there, but I can tell that we're not really getting the connection. And so we're going to step it down a pace. Weighted pull-ups are cool because you're able to, get that thing on you, and then you literally have like a whole plate hanging down, and then you're just repping out pull-ups. But if you want to have long-term progress in calisthenics, you need to actually be able to utilize the stretch reflex, which is how you get the most explosive pull-ups. If I go onto my clips over here and I show you how to pull explosively, I've shown Gary this before, but I'll show you guys watching. This is how explosively you should be pulling, like this. Boom, boom. If we really take things back and we understand the basics and we work on like all those smaller muscles, then we can actually be able to pull more weight in a shorter amount of time. And we do this by doing the pull-up negative, because Gary's weakness is his scapular mobility. And so by doing the pull-up negative, we're stretching all the way down to the bottom, and we're doing that for reps. Because going up is really hard and going down is really easy. And so we're going to do a mix of both scapular pull-ups and pull-up negatives. And this will be able to allow you to go all the way down when you're doing your pull-ups, and then to be able to stretch. Because right now you're doing stretch reflex with your forearms, because you go down and you stretch like that. But your forearm tendons is like a really small tendon compared to like your scapulars and everything. So like if you go down with your scapulars and you activate that stretch reflex and then you also use your forearms, then there's like literally 2 times more power if you just put in the work to correct that little thing. So we're going to implement that, and that will be in the program. Sometimes in calisthenics, you think that you have to take a step back, but it's actually a step towards the right direction, because the worst thing that you can do is take more steps on the wrong path than take little steps on the right path. Because in undoing bad habits is the most annoying thing. And I'm sure Gary can agree with me. When you put years into something and it's completely wrong, you got to rewire your brain. And that's why I keep people accountable and do the right things. So that was your review, Gary. I liked everything else that I saw. It was pretty rock solid. And hopefully we can get some good clips for next week. That way we can make some adjustments. So next up is Luke. And he's got his planche lean push-ups, high pull-ups, tuck to advanced tuck, and head dive push-ups. And he also has a little bit of a situation with his training, because he's a bit fatigued. So we'll go into that later as well. And let's go planche lean push-ups. Like straight off the bat, his planche lean fundamentally is sound, but it can be better, because this angle of the arm is not enough of a lean. So of course, like whenever I teach planche leans, I don't focus on leaning forward. I think about pressing up and getting that height and activating your serratus, because it's going to be the most transfer to your goals, which is handstand push-up and planche. But in saying that, you also need to have some degree of a lean, because you're not going to be able to planche press with this angle. It's not specific to the movement. So you are protracted, your hips are lower than your upper back, and I hope you are squeezing your glutes and your core is pulled tight. But we just need more of that intention with the arms to go like this, and for it to actually be planche rather than like this. Okay? And the way that we fix this is pretty easy. It's by actually diving with your head like this. Because when you dive with your head, then it will adjust your entire body. Let's think about the planche as a seesaw, like that, right? The more pressure over this side, the more that your legs will come up, because you want your legs to come up, right? That means more weight has to go down over here. And so imagine you're diving, then you'll be able to create like this shape way better. Then we go into his high pull-ups, and I'm actually pretty impressed with this, because most people, they have an ego about their pull-ups, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do CrossFit form, or I don't want to look silly with bands and everything, so I'm not going to pull high. But your body doesn't know the difference between you using bands, you using strict technique, or you using correct form, and the bar literally touching your waist. All you really need to care about when you want to achieve the muscle up in the safest and most explosive way possible is to just pull explosively and just get the bar to touch your waist. Because I don't want to get too scientific into this, but like your muscles are either on or off. There's no in between. So if you're not hitting full range of motion, you're just not hitting full range of motion. And for the muscle up, if you get the bar to your waist and you actually pull like this, imagine how easy it will be for you to just do the full thing. Like, boom, that's range of motion right there. So it doesn't really matter if it looks cool or if you're using a lot of bands or you're not doing what. It's better than not doing it at all. So obviously Luke knows that this is CrossFit in bad form, but his mindset is to do it with strict form. And so this will be the determining factor for how fast he'll be able to get muscle up without injury, because that's the goal, right? We want to not stay stuck, but we also don't want to be injured. And like, this is the perfect way to go about it rather than chicken wing. Now, tuck to advanced tuck. We need to make sure that we don't sacrifice our core just because we're pushing our legs out. So the common mistake that most people make when it comes to going from a tuck to advanced tuck is going too much into advanced tuck when they only need a little bit. Because even if, okay, so like, look over here, right? When your body is in this angle with your tuck, you just need to go down the tiniest bit with your legs. You just need to go down like the tiniest bit with your legs in order for it to be an advanced tuck. Well, it looks like this. You get what I mean? Like, your knees just need to go down just a little bit, and it's already really hard. And so I would much rather you go tuck to advanced tuck, but you only move your legs a little bit and you do that for more reps than to sacrifice your lower back, your core engagement, and you just fall down and try to just push as hard as you can, but like it's just not doing anything, right? Then head dive push-ups. What do I mean by this? Yeah, you need to dive with your head ball. I think these were head dive push-ups. And also, like, the planche lean slide's also looking much better, Luke. Last time we talked about like sliding and pressing against gravity, and that's way more controlled, much more slower, and you can actually feel it in your serratus, as I can imagine. So let's move on to Darren now. Okay, Darren, he's insane. He's made a lot of progress in his first week. That's because he was just on like the breaking point of being able to do a 90-degree handstand push-up, but he didn't know the right technique. And so this is the type of knowledge that literally makes a difference between you getting a 90-degree handstand push-up in 6 months after learning after doing 5 handstand push-ups. Let me do that again. So if you can do 5 handstand push-ups, then you're ready for a 90-degree handstand push-up. Once I achieved 5 handstand push-ups, it took me 6 months to unlock the 90-degree handstand push-up. Whereas Darren, he could only do 4 handstand push-ups, and after 1 week, not 6 months, 1 single week, he did his first 90-degree handstand push-ups, and through my knowledge, he's now able to do 3 90-degree handstand push-ups, and the key component was whip tech. So he's doing whip tech 90 degrees, and he did them for 3 reps, and it's absolutely insane. Like, the form is bad, and as you can see, this is a reoccurring theme. Form is bad, intention is pure, performance is high. Holy shit, I just made that up. Quote me. But look, the technique for this is when you go down, you catch yourself in the elbows. You don't care about the amplitude. So the amplitude is the angle of your body. So obviously 90 degrees and bent arm planche, you want it to be flat, right? And if it's not flat, it's 45 degree, and that's considered ugly. But that ugly form is very functional, because when you sacrifice the angle of your body, it doesn't cause injury. I'm sure you can agree with me. Like, if your body's angled like this, that's not going to hurt you, but it's going to give you more volume. So why not take it? And he doesn't hold the handstand at the top. Not holding the handstand at the top is not going to kill you. So just sacrifice that. If handstand balancing is the one thing that's holding you back from doing more 90 degrees, then just fuck it right off and just go back down into the bent arm planche, the position where you know that you're going to be able to balance and that you know you have more strength for, and just pop back up again. And Darren is straddling his legs. Lots of people are like, oh, I got to do the 90-degree handstand push-up strict and not straddle. and just like make sure it's perfect, or even go a little bit deeper, or make sure the line is good. But then they've been stuck on 190-degree handstand push-up, and they train 3 times a week instead of every single day. And then when they go out in public and they want to do like a cool move outside, they can't do a 90-degree handstand push-up without warming up with a shoulder circuit and like pike push-ups. It's stupid, right? Darren's out here just doing 3 handstand push-ups, 90-degree handstand push-ups with whip tech, and he's straddling his legs, and it's not going to cause any injury because the methods of regression are controlled and functional, because splitting your legs apart is not going to injure you. Boom. He's also bending his back as well. Your lower back is super, super strong. Calisthenics people don't utilize it enough. Think about how much weight a powerlifter or a strongman can deadlift. Like, the human body is capable of so much. And if you're scared of not using your lower back to cheat a little bit in calisthenics and to increase more volume, then you're a fool, because your lower back is so powerful. It can literally act as a whip, which is why I call it whip tech. Okay, straddle planche. Darren's going for bodyweight straddle planche, and his form looks butt ugly, but that's all right because it's an attempt. He's just testing. The only thing that I'd want to look out for is if your wrists are dead in a straddle planche, because your butt winking like this, it's not going to kill you. You not having protraction is actually not going to kill you. If you retract in planche, it's not going to cause you injury. The only reason why it would cause you injury is if your wrists are also dead, as in like a really sharp angle as a result. Okay? And Darren's wrists, this play button is blocking it, but it's good. Like, he's using wrist wraps, he's practicing safe sets, and he doesn't have a broken wrist, so his wrist angle is not like this, it's like this. His joints are stacked together, and the amplitude of his wrists is really good. And so regardless of the amplitude of his planche, see how he's really low like this? Regardless of this, if this is good, then we're chilling. We're chilling. Because people literally Maltese with retraction. If you look at Carlos from Spain, and if you look at everyone that does like a Van Gelder or a ring Maltese, they Maltese with retraction. Gymnasts Maltese with retraction. But because they're on rings and they're doing a supinated grip, it doesn't hurt their wrist, so it's fine. You can planche with retraction as long as you got the right mindset towards it. Let's go into his straddle planche presses, because I want to emphasize a point: amplitudinal intensity. His planche form looks butt ugly, but we don't try to correct planche form by changing the lower body. So many people are like, oh, my legs look so weird in planche, so what do I do? Well, I'll tell you what they do. They put on the band and they try to lean. They do a planche lean, and then they lean, and then they come off, and then the form is strict. It's stupid. It's good for a test. Like, you want to like still do that exercise to kind of learn that form. But if we're talking about the most bang for your buck, if you're a person that works 12-hour shifts like Darren, and you actually have a job, you have a family, and you have a life outside of gym, and you want to do the most high return on investment move, you want to pull the biggest lever, and you want bang for your buck, whatever term you want to use, then pressing would be the most important tool, because pressing will fix wrist angle. Because if you don't have a good wrist angle and it's really crunched and it's really dead, you're not going to be able to go into a handstand from a planche. So just straight up. Bad wrist angle, no press for you today, boy. And then look, amplitudinal intensity. It's not the fact that Darren is weak in planche and that his form is bad. It's just that he's weak and he has bad form in this amplitude. Because if you see him press up into a planche, when he's in that 45-degree angle over here, are his legs really weird? A little bit, but it's much better, right? And if he was to like hold his planche over here, it would make sense for him to be able to do that longer than if he was over here. Okay. And so it's not the fact that your planche is wrong in terms of form with your legs and everything. It's just that you're not strong enough to do the planche in that amplitude. Hope that makes sense, because most of you guys, you're just like, your form is bad, my legs are bad, but the one piece of advice that you just need to follow is actually from Valentin, and that's to shut up and do the work. And he's so right, because if you just get strong at planche, then you will have good form. Because you can literally see it. Like when you press into a handstand from planche, you pass through a zone where you do have good form, when the amplitude is high enough so that you're able to really see how good your form is. And if you just repeat this for reps, boom, and then you actually implement that once you do the hold. I have full faith that Darren, once he gets more comfortable with presses, because this is only his first week and a half of training, this hold right here with the straddle will look so good, because he can just imagine that he's pressing, but then he keeps his hips down and uses posterior pelvic tilt, like squeezing his glute, pointing his toes, and thinking about extending through. Those are the nitty-gritty details that I'm going to go into next week with him. Not now, next week, because we just need to get the big stones, the most ROI things, and the Pareto's law, the 80-20 rule, whatever. Too technical. You stop doing that. Next thing is handstand to tuck planche. So he's going for it, but then he just drops straight away. Lots of people are like, how do you do handstand to tuck planche? I do have a tutorial on this. Let's go over here. Handstand to tuck planche. The key is to come down, and just as you come down, you got to externally rotate. Okay. I need to get ready for this, because planche negatives is such a hard concept. And this is what I mean by me trying to be a good coach and be the bridge between all these high level movements and giving it to people that are like new to calisthenics, because this is mind boggling stuff. Like, everyone that has ever been coached by me, whenever I say that I'm going to teach a planche negative, I'm always locked in, because this is such a hard concept. Okay. Now this is good. This is good practice for me. I got this. So whenever you do a handstand to tuck planche, you want to first get into the 45-degree position. Why 45-degree position? Because as you can see, Darren over here, once he gets to 45 degrees, he's pretty good. Like, his arms are straight, his body is in line, his legs are like this. As soon as he crosses this 45-degree position, what happens? Boom, his arms are bent, and then his butt comes down, and his legs are all the way out there when they should be a little bit more in. But that's completely fine. So before we talk about how we actually control it, let's just identify and just agree with each other that the 45-degree position from handstand to planche, no matter what progression you're doing, if you're doing handstand to full planche, handstand to straddle planche, handstand to tuck planche, the 45-degree position is something that's good. And why is that the case? Because planche is hard. When you're in a straight line, it's hard. You can agree with me with that, right? But if you're in a 45-degree position, it's easy. And when you're in the handstand, that's not even planche. It's the easiest spot. So we want to use this easy spot. We want to take full advantage of the 45-degree position. And so what do we need to do? We need to lock it in. How do you lock it in? It means that you protract and you put all your pressure into your upper back, and so that only your lower body moves. Because at this point, you don't want your back to be lower, because if it's down here, you're screwed. If it's over here, you're also screwed. You need it to actually stay here, or else you'll sink down. And so once you reach the 45-degree position from handstand to planche, You need to lock in your upper body and not move it at all. And there's different components that I can show you to do that. And the first one is just trying to imagine that you're coming down from handstand and like a handstand push-up and a pike push-up. So you go handstand and you pike push-up activation it to bent arm handstand. But if you're doing planche, you got to imagine that you're doing that, but without bending your arms and just straight. So then you're kind of like this. Just imagine you're doing a handstand push-up without bending your arms. And then once you get to this 45-degree zone, protract and have that cue where you're trying to either pinch your collarbones together or imagine you're hugging the ground. Like there's a teddy bear underneath you and trying to hug it. So that way you round your back. And then the next thing you got to do is you got to externally rotate. And that's the most difficult concept to understand, because when I say externally rotate, you're like, what the heck does that mean? It's understandable because it's not something you hear all the time, but external rotation is something that I refer to for the bicep. Because look, my biceps are to the side. Look, they're facing you right now. When I externally rotate, my biceps are facing the sky. And the reason why that's important is not because of the bicep itself, but it's because of what changes once I rotate my bicep. When I rotate my biceps to the sky, I actually activate my serratus. So I go from here, and then look what happens when I rotate to the sky. Boom. My whole shoulder drops. Boom. Like this. And when your shoulder drops from neutral to depression, so depression means down, my shoulder's over here, I drop it into depression, it shifts my center of gravity. So if I was to externally rotate from here, okay, look at this video, and externally rotate, you can see that my shoulder's literally moving backwards. It's moving. And it's shifting back. So why is this important? It's because once you're in this spot, all your force, like your shoulders are really shrugged up, right? And so that means all the leverage or all the load length is over here, which is good for when you're hitting 45 degrees. But once you cross 45 degrees, you're now doing a planche. You're no longer doing a handstand or a 45-degree hold. You're doing a planche. And so remember that seesaw effect? If you want to lift your legs up, then you need all your weight to be on front. Well, then that means you need to try to get as much weight as you can while descending from handstand to tuck planche to the front of that seesaw. You just need to go, go, go. So when you externally rotate your biceps, your shoulder will drop. When your shoulder drops, look how much more like mass you have on this front end. I went from not showing my neck at all. It's like not showing my neck at all to poking out like a turtle and coming out of my shell and having all this weight over here. And I'm just trying to dive down. And so when my scapula shifts, it literally, my shoulders go from here to here. And so that's how you actually balance it. So what Darren needs to do is he needs to, instead of bending his arms, see how his arms are bent? He needs to actually externally rotate them, not just think about straightening your arms. You don't want hyperextension. You just want to imagine you're twisting the bar so that you can shift your shoulder blades backwards, and then there's not too much weight on this side and you fall down. There's going to be much more weight on this side so you can balance it out. Whoo! Damn. Let me catch my breath for a second, bro. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's keep moving on. L-sit, pike compression. He needs to slow this down a little bit more, but what does this look like to you? We just talked about handstand to tuck planche. L-sit pike compression at the most highest point where your butt is all the way above your head. That is basically 45-degree hold. Boom. And so what would you do, Darren, if you're going from a handstand to a tuck planche? You'll do the exact same thing that I taught you. You'll lower down slowly instead of rushing it, and then externally rotate your biceps as you go back into the L-sit. So we really use this movement to not only give us height, because when you go up, you internally rotate, because handstand is internally rotated, right? But as you come down, control the movement, and it just twists the bars and just really feel your shoulder blades shift backwards as you go into that slowly. You practice this and you really get good at it, you will unlock the handstand to tuck planche. And the next step after that is a tuck planche press. So you go tuck planche into a handstand. And then tuck to advanced tuck. This movement right here, when you go tuck and then you go advance, your wrist angle changes. And this is not a bad thing because it is hard, but your goal is to do a advanced tuck like me. So like, this is my tuck and this is my wrist angle. Look at my wrist when I go into advanced tuck. Oh my gosh, that is so hot. There's not a single change in angle at all. Look at this. Tuck. Oh, so good. And the way that you do that is you just press down. You just really try to think about it. You probably just didn't even notice your wrists move back. But it's a really important thing, because when you go tuck into straddle planche press momentum, then you can't sink down, because if you go from tuck and then you go straddle and then you already sink, then you can't press. So making sure that you go from tuck to a straddle or tuck to advanced tuck without changing your wrist angle is of the utmost importance. Let's move on to Keith now. My recording stopped because my camera overheated, but this is Keith. And the first thing I want to say is, Keith, welcome to the team. It's your first week of training and I'm super excited to help you, mate. What we do with new people is we run them through a testing week, because not everyone is the same. Everyone has different goals, and Keith over here, he wants to combine weights and calisthenics to have a good overall physique. But one thing that I do with my clients to make sure that they actually can incorporate movements like weighted pull-ups and weighted dips into their routine, because that is a really good compound movement that will target different muscle groups and will also transfer and work well with calisthenics movements, is whether the technique is good or not. Because doing weights is really beneficial, but what's the point of doing a movement like the weighted pull-up and a weighted dip if you can still reap benefits from the bodyweight versions? For example, if you're only able to do 10 kilo pull-ups and you can't progressively overload because your form is bad, then it's really beneficial for you to take a step back, have a calisthenics coach who is really proficient at getting people to pull explosively and utilize the body to generate that explosivity by working on bodyweight pull-ups, and then perfect the weighted dip technique, and all of that stuff. So I'm just going to go through Keith's clips, and we're going to first go through the step down. So same as Gary, this is a really good movement, and with the step down itself, you're activating that stretch reflex, and then you're coming upwards. And he just tried to go for a muscle up. That's completely fine. But this is giving me an understanding for testing week. So the other guys, I was just correcting the form. But with Keith, this is giving me an understanding of what to actually put into his personalized program. So this is giving me a good understanding, and I don't need him to do any more step down. I need him to do the next step, which is the box pull. And so that's what Gary was doing over here. And yeah, this is the box pull. You're basically going to go here, incorporate the knees, and then go back again and repeat that for reps. Other thing that I want to look at with Keith was the pull-up form. Okay, so let's see if your form is strong enough for you to be able to do weighted pull-ups efficiently, or can we actually take a step back and instead of loading our body with weights, actually try to increase the skill ceiling and master the technique. Okay. It looks like you are strong in the pull-up and you're able to go all the way down and all the way up. But with calisthenics, it's not just about going down and up. It's about utilizing your entire body weight and using it as a whip. So over here we have explosive pull-ups. And to be able to do like really cool moves, like with weights and everything, then you want to be able to do an explosive pull-up like that. So I'm actually going to not include weighted pull-ups into the main program fully. I'll do it for some days just so you can like get a bit of practice into it, but we're not going to use heavy weights. We're going to bring the weights down, but then we're also going to do like a high emphasis on pull-up form in order for you to create the foundation for you to be able to do weighted dip pull-ups. Now I'm going to go onto the weighted dips just to have a look. Yep, so these are the dips. Not weighted, sorry, body weight I meant. Actually, no, those were tuck punch push-ups. Okay, so we've got a lot of work to do. This is your normal push-ups. Okay, that's good. Nice and clean. Loving what I'm seeing. This is a bit dark, but if you want to do better at tuck planche, you should take off your shoes, because if you have shoes on, it's kind of like putting more weight on the seesaw, right? So if you're trying to lift your legs up in planche, then you want to have force coming up over here, right? And so if this is lighter, then it's going to be easier to hold this position. And if we look at a seesaw right now, when you're doing a planche lean or a tuck, you're kind of like this. And so you need to release weight from over here so that you can be even like that. And so if you release your shoes, then it will be easier for you to hold. And it seems like the shoes are like a small amount of weight, but if it's on like this big length, which is your entire body, then every little bit counts. And this is the tuck planche over here. And as you can see, we're trying to regain protraction. And it's hard, but like these are the concepts that we're gonna really go through. So with Keith, I don't know if you're gonna watch the other people's corrections, but you can see how Gary, Darren, and the others are really trying to push through the core. And the cues that I gave them is, you can imagine that you got your belly button and it's being pulled upwards by like an invisible string. And the reason why you want to do this is because right now you're succumbing to gravity. You're falling down and it's going to injure your wrists and it's not going to be able to get you to do a planche. Instead, you want to overcome it. And by overcoming gravity, you are trying to press through your serratus. And then you are trying to imagine you're pulling upwards with a string. This is what gives it that nice effect for a tuck planche. Yep. Planche lean is looking good. Only thing that we can improve on is we can squeeze our glutes, because we can see that your lower body is the same height as the upper body. And this is not really good because we want to make sure that our serratus is engaged. So the serratus anterior is like a fan-shaped muscle. If we go into Google and search it up, this is like a really underutilized muscle in your body that you don't really use in bodybuilding. And so this is what's going to help you fight against gravity when you're doing the planche lean. And in order for this to be contracted fully, we need to push our hips down and we need to protract. And so that will help you contract it to the fullest extent. And then in order for us to get the planche really good, we need to dive with our head, because as you can see, I can't really see a gap between your shoulders and your head. And so once we try to like dive in like a turtle, then it'll offset that weight on our legs and we'll be able to go upwards more. Wall handstand is looking really sweet, but we need to activate our body more. So I can see that your legs are bent kind of, and so we need to tighten our thighs because this will squeeze everything. We need to point our toes and we need to squeeze our glutes, because this doesn't look as strong as mine. If we look at footwork. We look at my body over here. It's nice and strong. And so everything is in play. Like my feet are pointed and my thighs are squeezed. My butt is squeezed as well. I'm pushing up against here and everything is locked in. More notes to Keith. Pike push-ups. Okay. These I remember you were pretty good, but you just need to do one thing. Okay, so for the pike push-up, your feet need to go here more. And then your body needs to be like this. And the reason why you do pike push-ups is because it correlates to the handstand push-up. If you look at the handstand push-up, right? This is pretty much what it is. So the EFG handstand push-up. Yeah, this is the handstand push-up, right? And basically like this. Boom, boom, boom. And if your legs were to come down, it will be like that. So when you're doing pike push-ups, the next level after that will be floating pike push-ups. A, B, C, D, E, F. All right, floating pike push-ups look like this. This is when you float your legs up and you're literally levitating. So now your entire body weight is off the floor, like so. And if we look at the bent arm handstand, BE. Bent arm handstands over here. I don't have it there. There you go. Bent arm handstand hold. Once we can get into this position, then just imagine how easy it will be to go into a handstand push-up. So that's why we want to start at the very bottom, which is your pike push-ups. But you need to have this angle and your legs need to be able to lift off. But if your center of gravity isn't good and your legs are all the way back there, how do you expect to float your legs up if they're all the way down there? You need to creep up a little bit more. That way you have enough height. And once you have enough of that height, then you can just float up really, really easily. And then the next thing is your front lever raise. Let's have a look at that. So with the testing phase, I got you to do front lever, and Matt just has a really good tutorial showing how to enter it. But this is just for my information to see what level you're at, because doing a front lever raise is a good indicator for how good your bottom range scapular strength is for front lever. And then holding the front lever itself is obviously a really good indicator for how strong you are. And then being able to extend from tuck into straddle into a full is also a really good method. So if you want to see how strong someone is, then get them to do different variations and they'll give you different information. So either this or that, boom. This is what you get for your testing phase. So looking at this level, Keith, I can see that you're able to do the tuck front lever raise, and not many people can actually do that. So you're pretty strong in that sense. And then you're able to actually do inverted deadlift. So I don't know if you know what the inverted deadlift is, but you actually, I think you almost unintentionally do it in this case because you're just trying to lower it down. But it's a legit exercise because it actually works on your lats. Inverted deadlift. So this is inverted deadlift, and it's a really good beginner exercise which you're going to incorporate in your program. And with the front lever, you're also fighting against gravity. So instead of just holding it, you're also trying to imagine it's like a cable pullover. So in the gym, you do this. And you're basically fighting against gravity by doing that activation, using your lats. And with inverted deadlifts, it's like the most basic variation of it. So imagine your whole body is like this, front lever. The more tired you get, the more you press with your lats to fight against gravity. One arm chin up hold. This is your attempt of doing one arm chin up hold. The reason why I get lots of beginners to do this is because this is a really good representation of how strong your top range is. Lots of people, when they do weighted pull-ups, they don't really have that top range, but this body weight movement, you can scale it. So if you go all the way up to the top, you can also have your assistant hand and remove fingers off. And if you can do like 2 fingers, that means you're strong. If you can do 1 finger, even stronger. But if you really need to, you can just do a commando hold. So hold both like this. I'll show you what a commando hold looks like. So this will be the progression for you to do, Keith. So just holding up like that. And like Tyler, as he's demonstrating, he can have his hand fully off or he can have it on. But you're just getting that top contraction and just focusing on each arm individually. Okay, perfect. And that'll be it for Keith. But yeah, what's running through my mind for these first 2 days, because you still haven't done day 3, 4, and 5, is we're going to incorporate commando holds. We're going to incorporate better form utilization for your pull-ups so that you can pull more weight. And then we're going to do inverted deadlifts, and we're going to fix your pike push-ups because they need to be a little bit more condensed. And I have a pike push-up tutorial that I'll be able to put into your program as well. So if you go pike push, this is my pike push-up tutorial. It'll give you an understanding of what it should look like. And a floating pike push-up is what you're trying to go for. And I have a tutorial for that as well. And I'll share this to you in the chat with us. Your goal with the pike push-ups is to do it so much, is to be so strong with it that you'll be able to just float up and just press into a handstand, right? Like that. Yep. Floating. That's the secret. Okay. And now we've got Joe. What's up, brother? So I'm going to do your review now, and you're on Instagram. Let's get it. Really good progress with the handstands. Joe, he had a little bit of a wrist issue, because when you're training handstands as a beginner, like even though you know that all the right technique and you've got like the best coach and you've been practicing really hard, things still can go wrong. But it's not about avoiding the pain, because if you got someone that trained for 25 years but didn't get a single injury, but then you got someone that trained for 5 years and got injured quite a bit but has learnt from them, then who would you look for advice? And who do you think actually pushes hard enough? Because injuries, they're just part of the game. Every single pro athlete, they get injured. If you don't want to get injured, then honestly, just stay at home and just lift weights and don't do calisthenics, because it's just part of the sport. Like if you want to do something with your life, you want to actually push towards something, then you are going to get injured. Like I'm just saying that straight up. There's a reason why there's so many doctors in the world. There's why physiotherapists are still in fashion. Like that industry is never going anywhere, because shit just happens, you know. But Joe has done a really good job of rebounding from it, and we learnt a few things. So we stopped going on floor so much. We've actually used parallettes. Parallettes are really good for a neutral grip, and you can also notice what he's wearing are wrist straps. Wrist straps, when you wear them and you create like a knot and you tighten it, it holds your wrist together, and that makes it really easy for you to just do handstands and movements without feeling pain, because most of the wrist pressure that you're getting at the moment while you're injured is a lack of compression. And so it's just kind of like an external fix. But the long-term fixes is definitely technique. And Joe's using parallettes to do it, because like if you keep practicing floor again and again and again, even if you're a pro, like it can injure you. It's just overuse. So I always mix between floor and parallettes, because even me, someone that's been doing it for 7.5 years, I still hurt myself. It's just a game. With the high pull-ups, we've got to improve the form a little bit, because with your technique, Joe, you're still not using that scapular activation. Like you're pulling once you're there. So you pull over here, but look, there's no stretch reflex for you to utilize. So when you go forward and you go for the pull, boom, look, there's no stretch reflex there. You're just swinging like this. You swing, you swing, you swing, then you here, then you go. There's no rip. So when I do a high pull-up, look at my technique. Boom. Create scapular activation. Now I have the height. See how like I'm taller than the band. Then when I go down, boom, I use the band. See how the band just went down like this? And then I slingshot up. Boom, boom. This is actually utilizing your band. This is actually releasing the full potential of your scapular activation. And so this is what you need to do in order to improve Joe. Next order of business is I want to really appreciate. I want you guys to see like how good his tuck planche tuck front lever entry is. Look at this. Boom. He's underneath the bar already. Chest underneath. If you're watching this section of the video, Gary, then you can take notes. And as he comes down, extends his arm and boom, minimal swing. Of course, it can be improved, but this is a really good start. So over here, his legs is already out. The other one joins, lowers down. When I first started working with Joe, he couldn't do a tuck planche at all. And we tried to just do tuck raises, but now he's actually able to hold tuck front lever for a bit. Why do I keep saying tuck planche? I know, I just love pushing too much. Pike push-ups, this is exactly how you want to do them. So if you're watching Keith, then look how like Joe does like a few reps, and then he goes for like a float just to really see if it's possible and if he's actually maximizing his leverage enough. If you look at this rep over here, you kind of see a twitch in his knee because he imagined that he's going to go for a float, but he doesn't, so it makes it even harder. He goes for it, and you can see his knee twitch because he subconsciously wants to think about it being a floating pike push-up. So this is really good, Joe. The next step for you is to obviously do a floating pike push-up, but then you can also do elevated pike push-ups as well. Now that you're hitting the later rep ranges, you can do this. So obviously you're not going to do the full float, but like same idea, right? Boom. You just scale it a bit harder. And if this is too hard for you, you can do elevated floating pike push-ups. But instead of just going back up, you can just only go down. This is Joe trying to train his false grip, which I really like. It's really inventive of what you're doing. Getting a really good grip on the bar and seeing if you can hold it. And he can't, but that's all right. But notice what he's wearing. He's actually got sweatbands on. So lots of people, when they try to get false grip, they kind of rip their skin. And so sweatbands is a good way of training your false grip without actually getting those skin tears, because they can be like a painful process when doing it for the first time. For me, all like nerves are dead over here, so I don't really feel it. And if my skin rips, I just wear the sweatbands, so we're all chilling. What he's really going for here is like a really explosive step down. So step into it. Boom. Really trying to pull back. This is exactly what you need to do, Gary, if you're still watching. Okay. This is the box pull. I really like this. Look how explosive he is. So he's stepping down, pulling with his lats. Boom. He's not able to do a muscle up right now, but this is like sharpening the sword. Like if you were to chop down a tree and you had 8 hours to do it, you'll spend the first 3 hours sharpening the axe. This is how you do it for the muscle up. Boom. Chest to bar pull-ups. This is how you properly train. why do you need to do weighted pull-ups and why do you need to do banded muscle-ups when you can just max out your potential for chest to bar pull-ups? It's pushing you close to failure. It's working a really high range of motion. And when you're reaching failure, it's within the 3 to 6 rep range. So it's still working on strength. And if you work on strength, you recruit more type 2 muscle fibers, which makes up a lot of the muscle spindle. I know I'm going really like deep into the like muscle anatomy, but strength is how you increase your muscle size and also your explosivity when it comes to calisthenics. And the last thing is the planche lean slides. I like how Joe slowed it down. This is what I got Luke to do as well. He was just rushing it, but really at the top, you need to feel that squeeze so that you can actually go into tuck planche. And like Joe, if I have one critique, go even slower. Really try to feel it, especially as a beginner. Once you're stronger, then you can rush into it. But when you're starting out, yeah, just try to feel that. And you're sliding in again. Boom. And trying to get that lift off. Right. Awesome. So everyone's reviews. Hopefully I did a good job with this. I mean, what am I saying? I know I do a good job with this because who is actually out there giving this type of advice? I literally don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be so hard on myself because if I didn't tell you this, I literally don't know who else would. Yeah. Why don't we spend the last part of this video just talking about what the next steps will be. So if you want to take your calisthenics to the next level and you like the way that I work, then pretty much just shoot me a message and we'll talk about your goals because we need to figure out where you want to get to, what you've done, and what are you doing right now. And based off that, we'll get like your measurements, we'll get your current stats, we'll create a testing phase. And just like Keith will give you a bunch of exercises for you to try, which will help me analyze your form and provide corrections, then create a personalized program off the back of that. And week by week, we're doing these reviews. You get 2 check-ins with me and I'll just do what I did in this video, and pretty much you just become a calisthenics beast. And obviously, if you have a goal like the planche or the front lever, it's really far off, instead of just trying to attempt front lever without any game plan, and just not really dividing it into easier exercises and progressions, you'll downregulate your nervous system, which means that you'll avoid the tasks that you want to do, procrastinate, and give up on your goals really early. So that's why in the first block, we work on just familiarizing yourself with the exercises, getting used to the movements. The second block, that's when we're just refining our technique and actually getting some wins getting some wins in and perfecting our timeline and hitting boundaries. And then on the third block, I want to equip you guys with so much knowledge that you'll be able to teach this to other people. You'll be able to coach others on your own, start businesses, become certified, become a natural PT, do whatever you want. But this knowledge will last you 5, 10, 15 years. I've personally done calisthenics for 7.5 years. I've had so many injuries and I could have achieved things way faster. So if you want to achieve things faster with less injuries, less pain, less money spent on coaches, on physio appointments, which I had to go to, and you actually want to have fun with it, meet people, besides just like doing one-on-one coaching and just training calisthenics myself, I host competitions. I have started meetups, and there's a school community over here. If you go on my screen, school community, you can join that and chat with others. Weekly calls, one's happening in 41 hours with me and Matt, and we answer your questions over Zoom. Like, there's so much to this that you can do. If you like everything, just shoot me a message, check out the school, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much for watching, guys.